Do a quick follow-up. As you guys can see and hear from the last video, the frame noise is essentially gone, and what I've done is basically use a putty knife, and I use a caliper to measure the thickness, and this is about 0.5 millimeters. And what I did was I essentially kept a space in here and on both sides when I tighten these retaining bolts down. And so there's essentially 0.5 millimeters of space on each side. I didn't even use the preload tool, but I think that's a pretty good sweet spot in terms of leaving a little space ever so slightly, and you can't see the linkage or the spindle from here. So that's the goal. When Orbea manual basically said you want to tighten the preload tool until you can't see it, but at the same time the linkage kind of sways freely. I use this and it worked out well. There's no play from side to side, so you know, so far so good. So the main reason why the bike is on the stand is because I saw on the last video I crashed a couple of times, so I just want to do a quick tune-up, make sure everything's okay, clean it up a little bit, and more importantly, our tires are pretty much worn. All the stubs, you can see on the back are not sharp anymore, and they're fairly shallow in the center, and the front ones are worn as well. All right, so these are the tires that we're going with. So when it comes to tire choice, there are mainly three things you want to determine what suits for your particular trail that you normally ride. So the number one is tread pattern, and that's determined by the name. You know, Minion, DHR, DHF, Assegai, they all have different patterns. All the trails around me are all loose over hard pack, so I don't really need Assegai. DHRs have tons of grip. There's some people who has good experience with both front and back. If you want more grip, you can run Assegai and DHR in the rear, Assegai in the front. So the second thing you want to determine is the compound. 3 compounds always more expensive than dual compounds. They grip better. Dual compounds are harder in terms of these nubs, but they are faster rolling. In terms of grip itself, the compound itself, you have MaxxTerra, you have Max Grip. Max Grip is the soft, but for our trails, honestly, MaxxTerra, longevity, and also it's enough grip. The third and last thing is the casing. Usually, exo casing should be plenty enough on an acoustic bike. E-mountain bike, you definitely want to go with Exo Plus or even double down, just because of the weight of the bike. And myself, I'm 220 pounds, so I decided to go with Exo Plus on front and rear. I actually was looking for the 2.4 and double down, but I looked everywhere online locally and nobody has it, so I went with the Exo Plus, which it should be enough. In terms of the width, I went with 2.6 in the front, 2.4 in the back. Should be plenty enough, and can't wait to try these bad boy and this combo out. So the tires that we're replacing is called Versus. They're a local San Diego company. They've been great. This is a gravity casing, so casing's really hard, very supportive, and they roll really fast. The only downside, to be honest, is that these are super heavy. These are heavier than Assegai's, and I think they're even heavier than double down casing Assegai's. These, I believe, are like 1.5 kilos. The Assegai's are like 1.2. They've done really well for me. You guys know me, I just like to try out different things. Yeah, let's get it. Okay. Clean up the wheel a little bit. All right. All right, so the bike is done. 25 PSI front and back. I torqued all the bolts because of the crash. All the linkage bolts, they're all good. Crank bolts, definitely want to crank them down. Topped off my pressure in the fork. Oh, and also with any Maxxis owner, should always check your battery level. But I pretty much got it down to a little system. So for every 2 cycles of me charging the Garmin, takes about 8 to 10 rides to run out of battery. I automatically just charge the Maxxis system, and I don't think they usually run out by then, but when you get into the habit of just recharging these Maxxis batteries every 10 rides or so, at least for me, it's been working fine. So all right,